I'm going to say one more thing about the event that I discussed yesterday, and I think I might have said yesterday that this was the last time I was going to discuss the event, and so in a way I'm contradicting myself, but really what I'm saying now is just an extension of what I was how I was commenting on this event yesterday, and really what it comes down to, I think, is whether or not in 2022 you are willing to have your eyes wide open about certain things. You know, like, I could understand 5 years ago, certainly 10 years ago, or longer ago, 15 years ago. I could understand having the kind of reaction where if somebody expresses doubt about something that's reported on in the mainstream media, you just instantly, in a knee-jerk sort of way, heap scorn upon that person. Oh, you don't think it actually happened? You don't think it? You think there's lie? You think they're just lying about this? You think they just staged the whole thing? Well, not necessarily that the whole thing was staged. Not necessarily that people didn't die. But the fact is, if you're awake and aware in 2022, and you've seen some of the things that you know that the media is capable of, and that you know that it's not just a myth, it's not crazy talk to say that they invent stories from whole cloth. They make stuff up and put it out there for one reason or another. And of course, you know, it's even legal, if you can believe that. It became legal in 2012 when the Smith-Mundt Act was repealed. Those of you who want to do some deep diving on that, you don't have to dive that deep. I think I recorded a video about this subject, but I think it was on my old channel before it got nuked. But the Smith-Mundt Act, which went into effect, I think, in the 50s, or maybe even the 40s. But what it basically said was that the United States government can broadcast propaganda towards other nations, but the act forbade the government from using propaganda against its own citizens. So it was okay, it was legal, it was perfectly legal to, I don't know, during the Cold War, you know, tell the Russians something that would demoralize them and help us being the free world as we were or thought of ourselves at the time, help us get a leg up in that Cold War, you know, or to tell the Germans that Hitler was impotent, or that he homosexual, or that he only had one testicle, or, you know, whatever else they said about him, even though, you know, I strongly suspect that none of those were true. Not having known the man personally, I can't vouch for none of those being true. But I'm pretty sure those were all fibs, and they were all. It was legal. It was perfectly legal to broadcast things that were lies, because it helped the war effort. It helped in the propaganda. It helped in the propaganda war, which at the time, you know, was us against them. America being united, its citizens being united. The idea of the government was to protect its citizens, and use whatever forms of warfare were handy to help the nation survive and thrive. Okay, I'm not saying I approve of those kinds of propaganda efforts. I think they're all pretty gross and corny But did you know? But anyway, the important thing here is in 2012, quietly, at the end of the year, the Smith-Mundt Act was ditched, and it was around that time that a certain event took place. Let's say in northeastern United States at a certain elementary school. I won't go any further. I think I've used a nonsensical rhyme for it before, but I've given enough hints to that you know what I'm talking about. That was around the same time that took place. That event happened at around the same time that the Smith-Mundt Act was repealed. So it's perfectly legal, believe it or not, for the news to lie to you. They can do it. If it suits their interests, they can do it. They're allowed to do it. It's not fraudulent. Given these facts, why should our default position be, if we saw it on the news, it must have happened the way they told us? Why should that be our default position? It should not be our default position. Our default position should be, yeah, I don't know about that. So it was on the news, I don't know whether it happened or not. I believe what I see with my own eyes, and that's it. Maybe it happened the way they said it did. Maybe it didn't happen the way they said it did. But it sure is convenient that it helps along certain propagandistic efforts that are the focus of the current administration. Sure is interesting and not irrelevant that it helps that along perfectly. So again, the news is allowed. They're allowed to lie to you. They're allowed to use propaganda. The United States government is allowed to use propaganda against its own citizens. Now, do I think this has probably been going on since well before 2012 when the Smith-Mundt Act was repealed? Yes. I think it's been going on for a long, long time. But I think that when the Smith-Mundt Act was repealed, that definitely, showed that they could be more brazen with it. And indeed, things got pretty brazen at the end of 2012, if you know what I'm saying. And one might suspect that things are rather brazen right now, without me taking a definite stand on anything. That things are pretty shameless and pretty brazen right now. So last time I focused more on the Fed aspect of it, the governmental aspect of it. This is more on the media aspect of it, but it still relates to the government, because you've got the government and then you've got government adjacent institutions like the media, like the mainstream media, and others. So that's just another reason not to believe everything you hear. Okay, and that's all I'm going to say about it. And now I will definitely move on to something else and not waste any more oxygen alluding to this particular story. Thanks for watching.